Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and today I've got a very exciting pattern release announcement for you from Love Notions. They have released two patterns. The band camp shirt, they have released a men's version and a women's version, and I'm going to talk you through the version here that I made for my son. Actually, I realized that this shirt is on a female mannequin. My son does not have boobs on this mannequin, but I could get it on. I don't have a male mannequin, so and I wanted to be able to showcase the pattern while we're talking about it. So yes, my apologies go out to my son that I've put his shirt on a female dress form. Anyway, today, or not today, but yeah, Love Notions has just released two new patterns. It is the same pattern. There's a male version, female version. So basically a version without bust adjustment or bust stuff in it, and a version with bust shaping built in. And a few different variations of each as well. This is a button-up shirt, but a camp style collared shirt. Now, which is what makes it different for the women's version for the aria. So a camp style shirt, camp collar, God, what am I trying to say? The camp collar is different in that it does not have a collar stand. So the collar is just sewn onto the neckline without the collar stand. And often the buttons don't go all the way up to the neck. They usually start a little ways down. So that the shirt can kind of open up and kind of gives a lapel feel a little bit. So it's a little bit more casual of a shirt. So like I said, I've made the men's version. The men's version comes with a color blotch front, which is what I've used, or a plain front. It comes with short sleeves or long sleeves, both with cuffs. The long sleeves have your traditional like buttoned cuff, like any kind of button-up shirt. The short sleeves are just a really cute little cuff. And there's the option for both to have tabs. So you can, roll up the long sleeves and have the little button tab if you want. A little tab detail is also available for the short sleeve. I didn't use that on this one. And then for the back, there's an option for a plain back. So it's just a solid back or a yoked back, which is what I've used here because we were playing around with some seam detailing, as you can see. So that is kind of the gist of the pattern. Now, the women's version does not have a color blocked front version. It's got a sleeveless version and a couple of different sleeve options as well, but very similar. It is also a button-up camp style shirt. And they also features, there's pockets that are included with the pattern, either a plain pocket or a cargo pocket. So like kind of one of those pleated pockets that have a little flap over the front that you can put on one side of the shirt or both. And we were going to put one on this one, but I'll tell you why we didn't here in just a second. So that is kind of the ins and outs of the patterns. The men's goes from an extra small to a 5X, and same as the women's. So it's their full size range for both. The women's has the standard front or the full bust front. So if I were making myself one, I would do the full bust front for mine. But I've not made the women's. I've only made the men's here. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. But just know that they're very similar patterns. And if you've always wanted to make a button-up shirt, if you're interested in the camp style collar, but maybe it intimidates you because it doesn't have the collar stand, I actually, in my shirt making class, and I'll leave a link to that class down below, I walk you through how to do exactly this kind of collar as well. Both a collar with a collar stand as well as a camp style collar. That's all included in the pattern. So you could very easily make this pattern with that shirt making class that I do offer. So anyway, I will leave that linked down below if that's something you want to go take a look at. Yeah, so there, just want to throw that out there. Okay, so little backstory. I always have a backstory. My son, my kids are seniors this year, and my son decided with some of his soccer guys that he plays soccer with, some of his soccer buddies, had played in the bowling. The school has a bowling club and a bowling team, basically, because they compete at different levels. They have matches and stuff with other schools, and so it's not a varsity sport, but it is still one that goes to like state and stuff like that. And a couple of these guys had talked my son into joining this year. So he started bowling and really caught the really caught the bug, which doesn't surprise me. My son and I are very similar in that we have that kind of addictive type personality. Like when we get interested in something, it's like that's all we want to do. Hyper focused, just really want that's what we want to do and only that. My dad's the same way. But anyway, he has been practicing all summer, really getting into it, and tryouts have happened, and he's made the team, all that jazz. Anyway, bowling is very much at the forefront. In fact, my husband has even gotten back into bowling as well. He used to bowl a lot when he was a kid. Anyway, so it's turned into another sport that he and my son can do together, a lifetime sport. All in all, I'm really glad that he's doing it. I think it's a lot of fun. He has quite a few of his friends that are on this bowling team with him. And I think it's just going to be something fun to do for his senior year. And again, it's something that he can do his entire life. He can continue bowling in leagues and all that kind of stuff forever. So I love to see him cultivating. Soccer is going to have a shelf life. He can only play hardcore soccer for so long. But bowling won't. Bowling and golf, those are great sports that he can definitely take well into his upper years as he gets older. So in all of this talk, we were talking about bowling, and he was like, we need bowling shirts. I mean, the team has like shirts. They're like a polo shirt with their school's name across the front. But he's like, no, I like to bowl like for normally. He's like, I want like a bowling shirt. And I was like, okay, I'll totally make you a bowling shirt. Like we can, like a retro button up the front bowling shirt style. So I kind of put that on my back burner a little bit. And then I got the notification from Love Notions that they were releasing this pattern. And when I saw the line drawings for the men's, I was like, oh my gosh, that color blocked version absolutely is a bowling shirt. Like that, I can totally make this into a bowling shirt. So that is where all of this has sprung. So I didn't test the pattern, but I did because I'm an ambassador. I jumped in and got the files before the release so that I could make one up. So I showed it to him. He's like, yeah, let's make it. Took his measurements and stuff. He measures very, very well into the extra small. And well, his waist isn't even close to what the extra small waist is. He has a very small waist. But the rest of his measurements fit into the extra small with a little bit of room to spare, much to his dismay. Anyway, so I projected the pattern, got it cut out. He picked out the fabric. He loved this this kind of robin's egg blue linen that I've had in my stash. Honestly, I think since I started garment sewing, it's been that long that this has been in my stash. And now looking back, it's probably a little thick for a shirt, not horribly so. I would say this is probably about the thickness of some of the, some of the quilting cotton, but some of the more like quilting cotton. I think Gidget's going to jump up here and join us here in a second. So if you know what I mean, some of the designer quilting cottons now are a little bit thinner, but some of the ones that are just strictly for quilting are just a little bit thicker. I'd say this is probably about that thickness. Like I could have easily made probably a pair of pants out of this, or a skirt or a fitted dress or something. But I mean, it works fine for this shirt. It just has maybe a little bit, it's a little thicker than maybe I should have used, but he absolutely loves this. So we picked this out, decided to do the color block version. And I was like, okay, we could color block it. So we could make these outer panels a different color, really tie in, do some embroidery with like the bowling pins and all that kind of stuff. And we were going back and forth. Anyway, I was like, what if we just did some flat piping in the seams of a contrasting color? So he dug through my stash again and picked out this cotton that's in this kind of, well, it's coming across, it's orange. It's orange. It's like an orangey red color. I was like, oh my gosh, that will be perfect. Like a perfect contrast. We'll do the yoked back, and we can just do flat piping. And what flat piping is I didn't cut these on the bias. I cut these strips on straight of grain because they didn't need to curve. None of these, I mean, they all went onto straight seams. So because I was making the version for him. Honestly, if I were making a women's version, although there's not a color blocked version for the women's, but I would have probably used straight of grain anyway. But they're just strips that I folded in half on themselves, wrong sides together, ironed them, and then I sewed them into the seams, basted them onto one piece, and they got sandwiched in between the seams, pressed them one way, and then top stitched on the other side. I did my flat piping pieces, 1.25 inches wide, because there's 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I wanted it to pop out 1/4. So 3/8 plus 1/4 is 5/8 of an inch, and then you have to double that because it gets folded over on itself. So that is 1.25 inches. So we decided to go that route and to pipe the sleeves, the front, and then, like I said, the yoke. And as I was, I just cracked my ankle bone with my with the bottom of this mannequin on the back. And then I told him, I was like, we could add embroidery later if you want, because he wasn't really sure what he wanted. I was like, or we can embroider the pocket and pop the pocket on the front. Like, that's easy to add after the fact. And he's like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then he dug through my buttons and he was like, I really want like orange red buttons as well. And I had the perfect like vintage buttons in my stash. Worked out perfectly. So made the shirt up. It fits him. In fact, I will show pictures of him in it. It actually fits him. It fits him really well. And great as just like an everyday shirt. However, we have determined he was trying to do some bowling in it, and it's a little tight in the back. I think this is probably, you know, if you're wearing this normally, you're not doing this motion a lot. Whereas bowling, obviously, you're doing this motion a lot. So we decided probably, I'm going to make him another one at some point. We're going to size up to the small, just so he has a little bit of extra room there in the back so that he can move like really, really well. And we'll choose a thinner fabric, maybe even like a rayon, like a cotton lawn or a rayon, or a thinner linen, just so he has a little bit more mobility for the actual bowling part. He is going to wear this shirt, he said, because it does fit him well. And if I were making him more in just for like, you know, church or out to dinner or just for fun to wear around, I would still stick with this size because I think this size fits him really, really well. It just doesn't, for athletic movement, does not lend itself well to athletic movement. So lesson learned on that one. So we decided not to put the embroidery on this one. So we're just going to keep this as an everyday shirt instead of a bowling shirt. And we're going to make him another one with a little bit later on down the road that's more bowling. And I also think, as we talked about this as well, we could do the color blocked front and then do the plain back, because the plain back will leave us a big canvas for maybe doing some embroidery on the back of the shirt. And we could have just a lot of fun with that. So the shirt fits well. I really don't need to make any alterations. I think making him a small is just going to make everything just, you know, the shoulders a little bit bigger, which is fine if they come off. I mean, he wears a lot of his clothes that way. Give him more room in the back, that kind of thing. But I think that will give him more mobility for being able to actually freely bowl. So, or maybe even if I could make the extra small, if I used maybe some fabric that had some stretch to it, maybe some shirts that have, or some cottons and stuff that have some stretch, that would actually work really well. And there are some like stretch broadcloths that I have seen out there. So we may even order something. We'll have to see. Then I can probably stick with this size, but then it would give him more ability to move a little freer. Anyway, he loves this. I've got a couple of fabrics that he has earmarked for shirts. One of which is the leftover viscose linen from my Cocoa Bias skirt that I showed you guys recently. I'll pop a picture if I can find it up here. He loves that fabric and he wants a button-up shirt in it, even though it's going to match me. I would not do the color blocked front though for that. I would just do the plain front, probably plain back, like least amount of seams possible is better for that busy fabric. But he's very interested in having a shirt made up, a short sleeve button-up shirt made up in that fabric, which, I mean, that may not happen until next, with that particular fabric. That probably won't happen until next like spring because it feels very spring and summery fabric to me. But we will definitely be revisiting this pattern sooner rather than later with some bowling specific fabric, and it's going to give me a chance to play around with my embroidery machine. So there we go. Anyway, this is the newest pattern. Honestly, I was going through looking at some of the tester stuff, and so many of the testers tested both the women's and the men's and made them and their husbands like not matching shirts, but kind of, I mean, different fabrics, but kind of matching shirts. And I'm like, well, that's really cute. I don't know, and I may be able to talk my husband into one of these button-up shirts as well. He's a little bit pickier with things and isn't as adventurous with fabric and stuff as my son is, which I absolutely love that my son is that way. But anyway, we'll see. So if you've had your eye on or wanting to find a button-up shirt pattern for someone in your life, then I highly recommend this one. And absolutely take a look at the women's version as well. My code, they're all on release sale right now, and my code 10Whitney gets you an additional 10% off even those sale prices on both patterns. So you can go over there if this is one that you're interested in adding to your catalog as well. So there we have it, a very exciting pattern release. And I think I've got another pattern release, different pattern company, but another pattern release coming up for you this month as well, which is really, really exciting. And don't forget, we are into September. It is Precious Fabric Sewing Month. I've got a challenge I'm running on Instagram, but even if you're not participating in the challenge on Instagram, I do challenge you to sew up some of your precious fabric in your stash this month. You know, get it out of our closets and onto our bodies so we can enjoy the beautiful fabric that we bought. You know, there was a reason that we bought that particular fabric. So let's get it on our bodies and out of our stashes. Okay, that's all I have for today. I will see you again with another Precious Fabric video coming to you. And yeah, then again next week. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you get some sewing in. I've been doing quite a bit of sewing and it feels really good to be back, getting after it, making up some things and making some things, some selfless things for my loved ones as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. Happy sewing. See you next time. Okay, bye.